What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Huddle, your weekly podcast where we talk about forward progress in your career. Thanks for joining us today. I'd like to take a couple seconds here to thank the sponsors. We want to say thanks to TradeTet. Get your VTI. Paul's got a lot of stuff going on right now where he's trying to help the industry, and I don't think people are viewing it that way, but that's essentially what is going on. It's like it's going to help all of us eventually, so make sure you get your VTI. That way when it's off and popping, you don't have to worry about it anymore. We also got to thank the NAFCT. Huge shout out to them for being huge in the industry, helping us out, spread the word, and just being the awesome people that they are for all the training that they do. And Divergent Adhesives, because you can't glue floor down with nothing, right? And they do got some great adhesives, so make sure you check them out. We also got to shout out Pro Installer Magazine, because a lot of the stuff that I have learned has been through these publications, so just make sure you're checking them out. They got a lot of good articles, and like we said before, if you want to write an article, they'll probably be more than happy to hear you out, see what you got going on. Got Georgie with us today. What's up, Jorge?
What's up? What's going on, guys?
What's going on, brother? See you out there working right now.
Man, just hitting it up. I'm still phase one on this project, so I gotta see if I can just get everything positioned properly for today and tomorrow, and get out of here tomorrow. Go on to the next one.
Preparing for success.
Yeah. How are y'all doing over there?
I think
today's it's been a very unorganized, busy couple of days. Like everything I thought I was going to be able to do hasn't really went that way. It's only because a couple phone calls, right, just lead you down that path of trying to help solve problems, which is totally fine. It happens.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of one of those things where it kind of ties into our topic today, because it's been on that end before. I don't know if this project is necessarily to that extent, but I mean, we've been on, had to do the same things before, where it's like you get some phone calls and it's an emergency situation and you kind of got to go bail some people out, and that's where we're at with this project. But we're talking about pricing, right?
Yeah. The topic is what the price of being the cheapest, right? That's the actual topic?
Yep, the price of being the cheapest.
Now that doesn't really sound. Well, let's dissect the topic real quick. Everything that we do, there's a cost involved, right? And every company has different levels of overhead, whether it's just a individual proprietor working for themselves out of their home, their garage, or it's a very large company that has hundreds of employees and contacts all across the U.S. Right? Like there's a big range there to talk about, but realistically, what is being the cheapest in your area, or what has being the cheapest really done for you? Have you found success? Have you found failure? Have you been categorized? Have you been put into a bucket with others? Right? I don't know. Listen, what are your thoughts on the topic here, Jorge?
Um, I can't remember the last time I went cheap, and I try not to be cheap. I try to be affordable, but still getting the work, but not giving it away, and still cutting a little bit here and there where I can. And at the end of the day, I mean, my whole objective is to make as much profit as possible, right? Depending on the product that I'm pushing and the complexity of it. But overall, I mean, we try to just guide the client, give them a good deal, and that way, we can get the work in and out. But then again, it just depends what kind of product you're pushing, how hard is it, how many days you're going to be in the house. So for us, it's a quick in and out, a day or two in a home. And especially for doing the rug serging and binding, it's a half a day sometimes. It's more of a travel to other cities. But for some things, you can't be cheap. So in some cases, I can give somebody a wholesale price on that. And in other cases, hey, I need to get this in by tomorrow morning, and I need for you to come and serge this overnight or something. Well, it's not going to be the same price, because now I got to, get out of my comfort zone and go do something that I don't know. I just got to wing it. And that was the issue last week. I had something in Austin, and they needed it done right away. And it's like, all right, I'll be there in the morning. But it's right smack downtown Austin in a high-rise condo. And, I thought, I was scared. I thought there was going to be no parking. And no, everything came out good. Actually, everything came out good. It's not like San Antonio. We're an older city, so we don't have, like, nice high-rises. They're all old school, so the garages are separate. Somewhere else, you got to walk. So, no, everything was good, comfortable. I mean, I charged a good price, and, it is what it is, and I came out with some good profit, but I don't understand why people would charge cheap in some circumstances, but I don't have that mentality anymore. I try to make profit where I should. I don't know about you guys.
Well, you understand your value, right, and the amount of time and effort it puts that you put in to having the skill set and the knowledge base that you have, right? That's hard to it's hard for anyone who is very involved into their craft to look at it like, I want to be the cheapest, I want to be the most affordable, right? Instead of I want to be the best, I want to be one of the best. I want you to look at me as the professional, right? Like, there's a fine line there, I think. And when we started, we were given a work order with predetermined prices on it, right? And we didn't know any better, right? That's how the industry was when we came in. So were we the cheapest? I don't know. We were priced according to whomever was giving us the project. But as we started learning more and getting busier and being put in a position to where we could select our work, we started understanding how much money it was actually taking for us to get out there every day and do what we were doing, and then how much money we were leaving on the table or how much money we weren't asking for.
And that's the thing, right? Because Rollin says right here, it's not how much money you make, it's how much you can keep. And there's too many people out there that look at that dollar amount, and that's all they're looking at is how much money is coming into their pocket and not how much they're paying out.
Correct. I did a breakdown with an individual a couple weeks ago who had a one lump sum. I'll keep names out of it. Had a one lump sum, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's pretty good for the amount of time that he had listed it, but how much was taxes? You got to deduct that percentage. How much fuel did you spend in that time? How much was your supplies? How much, how much time did you spend running around or talking on the phone doing the front office type work for that, as well as the install, right? Like, there's just a lot
all
of
the
variables.
overhead, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of variables, right? So a dollar amount doesn't necessarily, a large dollar amount doesn't necessarily reflect the amount of work that actually goes into it, or the amount of work and effort you've put into being efficient and proficient at that discipline. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I don't know if I would ever, me personally, I don't, if we've been the cheapest, it was never intentional. We just always tried to be where we felt we needed to be. I don't know if our pricing was ever really market driven rather than effort or workmanship or knowledge driven, but in a side-by-side comparison, our value is typically a lot greater than what we worked next to as we became more educated and learned how to do more things in the industry.
Yeah, and Rollins says right here too, right? And it's one of the topics that I wanted to bring up too. It's that winning every bid should never be your goal. You do not want 100% of the things you are throwing out there, right? And Rollins says if you get every bid, you are pricing too low.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, so let's go to commercial, right? Commercial work. Unfortunately, in that dog-eat-dog world where our sector, flooring, is kind of looked at, unless we have some kind of specialty artisan-type pattern or design or product we're working with, dollars and cents are expendable in the flooring, especially in the commercial world. And it sucks to say it like that, but it's the sad truth. And if you're winning every bid, you're missing something. And if you're missing something, you're hurting yourself, right? And when you're hurting yourself, you're not giving yourself a chance to grow. And a lot of generals out there, regardless of how trusted they are, that they're more than willing to exploit that over and over and over and over again until you catch on. And I don't know, like, I want to say I don't know or don't feel or think that is intentional, but some of that's got to be intentional, right? Like, it's business. You know, that is business, right? You take it all in and you try to create this budget, and if you can find people that are if you can find a team that keeps you within those parameters of that budget that you created using numbers that might not even be valid anymore.
Because it came
more
out
power
of a
to
book.
you.
It came out of a book that was published this year that says this is what it should cost.
Yeah.
And over here on Instagram, this is what Floor Pilot says. He says, I'm saying this is what they say. I feel like it's more about the price of going with the cheapest. So many clients often try to find the cheapest price, but that comes with a very high cost.
Yeah, and sometimes it's the cost of a relationship, a partnership. It's the cost of a client that you've had for years and years, and then they decided they wanted to go somewhere else, right? Like, it's hard.
Well, that's the thing, right? You got to keep people honest too, right? You shouldn't just be going out and getting one price. You should always do your due diligence and get, multiple prices, and that's how you figure out who's the low, who's in the middle, who's high, and then compare things after that. And I was talking to someone, I think it was over the weekend, and they were, just talking about how business is going, and I'm like, man, it's just so cutthroat in the commercial world right now with how low some of these bids are. And I've talked to some of the other project managers or estimators that have had teams that are on these projects and bidding these and getting them, and I'm like, dude, like, when you see the spread from the low bid to the next bid being like 80 grand, and then there's like 2 or 3 people in line within like $5,000-$6,000 of each other, and then it jumps up another 20-30 grand. It's like, how do people as consumers actually go and say, yeah, we're going to take that low bid and think that everything is apples to apples?
I guess I'll never know that because we ask for details, and we offer details, and let me add to what you said, because I've had a couple conversations about the same thing, right? And there's an obvious low, there's an obvious high, right? And I will say the conversation I had is right away the low gets tossed, the high gets tossed, and this particular company likes to focus on that cluster and see where they're at, and then potentially gives them an opportunity to compare, to see if it is apples to apples, or now that to me sounds pretty fair. But on the other end, if we're looking at the price of being the cheapest and you miss something, and you signed a contract that says you have to provide X, Y, Z, and you sit down in a meeting and you say, yes, I have all that figured in. Man, you are putting yourself in a bad spot as an owner, proprietor, whatever. That's that perspective. But from the other perspective of a company who goes in with their numbers, gets selected, but then also determines what they're paying out to installers, and then has those installers fight for, like, multiple installers fight for who's going to do this project for this price. And they have 5 to select from, and one guy says no, the next guy says no, third guy says, yeah, but can you do this? The fourth guy says, of course I can. I could probably do it cheaper. Right now you have your installer community battling one another for no reason.
And that's
that
where
part sucks.
Yeah, and that's where
It's
us
like,
as installers have to realize too, right? That they're putting us up against each other like that, where it's like you can't just keep on undercutting yourself just to get projects, because all it takes is, you do that, and then it's one thing on that project leads to, now I'm not making any money.
Yep. And what were you going to say, Jorge?
I was gonna say it's like going to the auction, the car auction, but instead of the numbers going up, they're going down, and everybody's like, "I can do it less. I'll do it for less. Pick me."
Yeah.
Right.
And that's kind of what the bid market has felt
We should
like
do a
to
video
me.
like that.
Right.
It almost seems like, we're going out and we're bidding to a GC, and then it feels like these other companies are going to all their installers and bidding it out to them, seeing who will take the lowest dollar amount to do it, so that way they can just put their markup on it and then call it a day.
Yeah.
Everybody's in business to be profitable, right? To make money. Nobody intentionally goes out and finds work to lose money. I don't think that, for one, not smart business. For two, I don't think anybody ever really wants to do that, or that mindset. It shouldn't be there if it is. I don't know anybody who has that mindset. Let me start a business just so that way I can lose money every year. Nobody ever says that, right?
If you got too much money from another business, then that's what you do.
Oh, well, yeah. There's that. But the fact is that, like you said it great, Jorge, you don't go to an auction and then go in reverse, right? Let's see who could get the lowest, who could give me the lowest amount of money for this product or whatnot. And like Daniel said too, about putting us up against one another, and that's really what it is. I don't think that the market really intended for that to happen, but everybody likes to save money, but everybody also wants to get the best possible bang for their buck, the best possible product that they can. And unfortunately, in the world that we live in, the more affordable product is some of the hardest products to work with, which means that the skill set required for that inexpensive product has got to be a lot higher than the skill set for a very well put together product. So at some point you're stealing from one just to have the other, right? But it's always going to end up being that balance, right? You're paying more labor for a lesser product or more product for a lesser labor. I don't know. I just know that there are some stores out there where I go and look at material, and the material cost is pretty up there, and I can pick up. I'm just going to use carpet for example, and I can pick it up and hold it to a light, and I can see through it. Right? I can feel it, see through it. I know what I'm working with, but then I look at that dollar amount per square foot, and the literature on that product is put in a way that is appealing to the public. But if you ever really want good feedback, ask an installer who is a professional in that discipline what they think about it. I know you're laughing about that, right? Like one looked at a project that's had wool carpet installed for, glue direct wool carpet installed for 30 plus years. And they're like, hey, yeah, we were hoping to get another, 30 years out of the next install too. And I was like, oh, this was made differently back then. The world was a different place back then. Like, we can find you product like that, but the product that is very comparable to what's here now is going to be substantially more expensive than what samples you have on your table.
Yeah, and they don't, not only that, is they also look at what they paid 30 years ago, and then they're like, it should, be around the same. It's like, that ain't the case either. Rollins said he must have installed that wool carpet.
Yeah, probably did, bro. It was a nice pattern match, a little small 1 inch by 1 inch pattern throughout this whole place. I don't know, there was probably a good 40,000 square feet of wool carpet. It was a nice little project. But what's the real meat and potatoes of the topic, you guys? Like, besides it flooding the market.
Being cheap is easy to sell. It's when you're not, and then you have to actually let them know the value you provide, and not just being price driven. And we've been on that side of things too. And I mean, I'll give clients the credit for asking when they're like, hey, this person will do it for this, or will you come down on price for this? And it's like, look guys, I gave you the best price I could already. Like, I can't take anything else off. Like, the price is what it is. And it's either like, all right, move on to the next one, or I've had it where it's like, contract will be to you tomorrow.
Right. We remember that we just had these have been coming up lately, like these last minute emergency, I don't have any more time, or my guy bailed, or whatever. But a couple weeks ago, I had a project pop up, and I gave a price to go in and fix some issues. And the client emailed back, was like, well, how many guys are you going to have here? How many hours is it going to take? And, my initial reaction was, well, I'm sorry you feel that is priced high. I'm sorry that you feel like that. But this is what's involved. This is what it's going to take. And then, I gave her an explanation. I didn't justify cost. I gave her an explanation on what steps we were taking and what we were looking for, and what we would offer as far as a remedy and fixing the issue. I didn't try to justify any numbers or anything like that. I said, but I did at the end. I said, however, at the end, if we don't need to explore this route right here, I am more than willing to offer you a discount or credit you back anything that isn't warranted. But I don't want to do, what I don't want to do is get started and then tell you I need more money because this is what we found. As we already got going, I said I'd rather give it back to you. And then she came back with the, well, I own several properties and I can give you more work if you give me better pricing right now.
Who hasn't heard that
there's
one?
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I was gonna say. It's like that's what everyone says.
So
Like
Hey,
I got
I'll be your friend
8,000
for the whole
apartments
week.
ready for you right now.
yeah,
I'll be your new
so
best friend for like a month.
We've had practice at that one right there, brother. So my response back to her on that was, well, that's awesome. I'm glad that you have other properties, and we'd be more than happy to entertain giving you estimates for some of your other properties as well. But let's just start with this one right here, right? If we are awarded your project and we help you out and you like what we provide, then we'll sit down and talk about your other properties. And then if we have an ongoing relationship, then we can talk about offering discounts for a volume of work. But until then, I have to look at this as a single project. And that's where these numbers are going to stay. And didn't hear anything. Apparently there was some issues with her communicating via email. She texted me, was like, hey, I tried to accept your proposal last night and it just kept giving me error and error. And I was like, oh, like I didn't think you were even responding, to be honest with you. I was already trying to schedule other people and other projects, and we ended up making it work. She got her new client to come into the property and move in on time, and there was no hiccups, and she was very thankful. I did offer or give her a discount for items that we didn't use as promised. So now only time will tell to see if the nice guy approach and being honest really works out. Otherwise, maybe I just should have just left it at the other number and just billed for that and kept it that way. I don't know. We'll see. Regardless, she told me that was more than she ever anticipated, and that was more than she was quoted by 2 other companies. And, you know, the a-hole in me wanted to say, well, call the other companies then. Why you trying to bargain with me? I just call them.
Which we've said in the past, but I don't think that was directly to a client. That was when we were working as labor only for other flooring stores.
Correct. Call them. I don't try to say that, but sometimes it just, when you've had one of those weeks or one of those days, it's hard to always be optimistic and nice. That takes a little bit of practice too. Yeah, Mr. Kendall, thank you.
He seems to know that job.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for helping us out. And you know, that's part of the network too, the Trade Tap network right there coming through. Shooting out a message, maybe a phone call saying, I have this in the works. Where are you available? If I can't cover it, are you available? I don't want to cover it. Are you available? This is up your alley. Are you available? What would you need? And great communication through the Trade Tap network with Kendall as well.
Nice. ¿Qué pasa, Jose? Jose's here. Jose de Jesus. My amigo.
Yeah, I just talked to him the other day too on the phone. He messaged me and was like, hey, how you been? So I called him when I was leaving the office. I think it was the day after you were texting me, and you were like, I need to tell you this right now so I don't forget. And then I was like, hey, what are you talking about? And then you were like, I forgot.
You talk about him or me?
No, me.
Jorge.
Oh.
I ended up calling Angelica and I told her my whole story. I was talking to her for like 45 minutes and she's like, yeah. So I was like, remember, because I'm going to forget. She's like, I got you.
Now,
So
has anybody ever had an experience where being the cheapest has benefited long term? Right?
I mean, it does in a sense. When I used to work for like fire and water restoration people, you know, doing
volume?
stuff. Yeah, well, not because of the volume, because they're really like super inexpensive materials that are going to go in, like paper thin sheet vinyls and like carpet in a 20 ounce to 30 ounce. You know, it's something really just crazy, you know. You can't charge some of these people a lot because one, they're not gonna hire you, and two, people like my dad, at some point, they were scared to kind of leave. Some people, they're like, no, well, they're giving us a lot of work. Why do you want to leave them? And he's like, another thing is like, we could be working for somebody who pays us less. And I'm like, yeah, but we could be working for somebody who pays us more. I go, but if you want to fill in the time, no problem. They're just filler jobs. And it always seemed that when I didn't have any kind of work at all, maybe that day or for the next 3 days, they'd call like, I need this now. And I'm like, yeah, I'm free. Let's do it. But other than that, most of those were my dad's kind of clients, and I worked for him, so I had to respect what he did. Now it's like, nope, we're not working for them, or I'm not working for that person, and this is the way it's going to be, and it works out. I'm not saying I'm not cheap. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm cheap. I'm just, like I said, depends on the material.
Not the cheapest, right?
Yeah, not the cheapest, but not the most expensive. I understand that some of the people I work with have to make profit also, so.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest factors that a lot of people overlook, I think, is I've seen numbers of what they're paying some people, and then also what they are getting, and just that separation in between. And then anytime that the installer asks for more, they just get upset. But
yeah,
it shouldn't be like that either. So I mean, sometimes when you're that lowest cost, that's what's really hurting you, and it's not only hurting you, it's hurting everyone in the area, right?
Yeah. It's hurting your region, right? Like at some point, somebody's reporting their annual income as a business, and it creates these averages in your region. And some people are big time, some people are not. But you don't want to flood the market with by misleading clients or even other installers. You don't want to flood the market with people who just don't understand the business aspect, because it doesn't do anybody any favors at the end of the day, at the end of the year. If you're the one guy who's charging pennies on the dollar while everyone's at $1 a square foot, who's the real issue there, right?
Right.
Who's the real problem?
Jose says right here, he knows people laying VCT in Atlanta for 45 cents a square foot.
Mm.
And that's one of the issues, is that they're going out and doing that, and then they're making these companies think that should be the norm.
But that's without brushing the sides of the VCT. That's no brushing, no cleaning the edges. It's just like with dirt.
No sweeping the floor.
Yeah.
No sweeping the floor. Just glue it and go.
And non-directional, right? Upside down, left, right. It don't matter.
Upside down, yeah.
Hey,
you're gonna wax it anyway.
Yeah. You gotta strip and seal it anyway. It'll blend right in.
We're not even using the pyramid on this one. We're just gonna drop them left to right, right to left. That's the 45-cent job. But if you want it done right, might charge you over $1.
Right.
Yeah.
Kendall says he doesn't even do hard surface, but that's ridiculous. Also says residential carpet for $2 a square yard. I mean, you see it all when you're doing.
It's horrible. Terrible.
Some of those numbers, right? Like you said, the volume, Daniel. If you have a project that is wide open, 100,000 square feet, you can be more flexible on some of your pricing, right? So your square foot price might actually appear to be the cheapest.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the difference of doing, it's different when you're doing a 10,000 square foot room opposed to 20 offices that equal 10,000 square feet, right? But they try and put it into a category where it's just like it's this many square feet. Well, I don't care if it's that many square feet. If it's all individualized offices, it's still the same amount of work as if it wasn't, right? Every office is its own project.
Yeah, pretty. I mean, it's
We're in a closet sometimes.
yeah. Seriously, like that's a good conversation point too. Like this is pretty cut up. Like every time I come through a doorway, I have 4 walls to cut in instead of this one room that has 4 walls. There's different ways to look at it, but if someone's not great at communication or explaining themselves or relaying information or conveying their perspective to a client or a builder or a GC, then chances are they're just going to accept whatever's there
And that's
and
one of
live
those
with
things
it.
too, right? Because you talk about cost versus value, and you have to know that they don't equal each other, and that you can provide more value in things that don't just cost money, right? You being on time, you getting things done when you say you're going to get them done. It's not just a cost thing, and that's, I think too many people are caught up on clients just looking at that number and being like, oh, I'm just taking this because it's the lowest cost, when it's not always that. Sometimes they'll look at numbers and be like, I'm still going to use this person because I know the value that they provide. You just have to put yourself into that category where they start looking at you like that.
And that takes time and consistency.
35 cents a square
Wow.
foot. That's $3.15 a yard for some pattern match carpet.
Yeah. I mean, it's not unheard of. I've heard of those numbers before, man. I'm like, what?
You know, not to like put personal business out there, but I was on the road today and got some emails. I forwarded them. Daniel called them, said, hey, could you help me out and respond to this right here? And the response to the response was like, oh, thank you for following up. This is what you charge?
What you would charge? And that's where when you're looking at numbers, you have to realize that not every project is created equal. So when you're talk price list, right? We've had this before where people are like, just give me a price list, we'll run with it. And it's like, I can't give you a price list because every project is individualized, where, again, 10,000 square foot is way different than 10 rooms at 1,000 square foot.
Yeah. And I think the end of, I mean, we did provide a template at one point to people, but the first time we hit the situation where it was like, 1,000 square feet and under is this price. 1,000 over 1,000 square feet to 5,000 is this price, and we were like 1,010 square feet, and they were like, well, we just went with the lower price since it was pretty close to 1,000. It's like, so you asked me for a template or 10 feet over the template, and you're deciding for me what I'm going to get paid. It's time to rip that template up. We're not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
That's almost literally what happened with the template that I tried to create. I'm like, no way, dude.
And that's where it kind of brings me back to, I'll bring Larry Melton into this, where, we've had him in the office before, and he was like, we need to try and get it to where everything is priced out like almost like a mechanic shop, right? Where it's like, all right, if it's this, then it's going to take this amount of time, so it should be priced at this. And I'll be honest, that's a great idea, but to get everyone to do it is probably never going to happen.
And years ago, we did try, right? And Larry Melton's a smart dude.
And you think about it, right? Because not everything is going to take that amount of time. You going to get a haircut, they block out an amount of time, right? Like when I get my haircut, she blocks out 45 minutes or something, and I'm in and out of there in probably like 25.
Right. What the heck you doing, bro?
You're getting tools, man.
getting some tools, baby. Trying to sell here.
Yeah, working off a template is all fine and dandy if you have cookie cutter projects. I get it, but that's also, people are always going to hold you to the lowest number possible when you offer a template.
And even if it's not on a template and your numbers are just everywhere, you have to be able to explain to the client where you're pulling these numbers out of, right? And I've been on projects where it's like, all right, we want to use you, but we need you to explain this. And then it's like, all right, well, one of the previous ones was, all right, well, it's behind a meat counter, so you don't want to use this material here because eventually it's going to end up shrinking, and then you're going to have all this bacteria in all this stuff. So I priced it out with this one. Well, what if we don't want to use that one? I said, but then we can come up with an alternative, right? But at the end of the day, it's like you're the one that's going to have to deal with the health department. So do you want to have that conversation now or later on when you got to replace stuff because it's not to code?
And that's where the knowledge and the value come into play there. You know, and let's just use that scenario. Say they go with the product that they want installed. It shrinks, it fails, starts harboring bacteria. They have a surprise inspection. They fail their health inspection, and the inspector says, "Hey, your guys' flooring is harboring bacteria. You need to remove it or change it." Now they have to pay for that again. So, long-term savings does happen when you find the right value in the right company, and that's across the board, not just in our industry.
So
the question, I guess, another question is: are the people who are doing lower value or lower bids, cheaper bids, right? More affordable bids, are they affecting the people who are creating better service? And the people who are doing these lower bids, is their work, is it worth it versus getting that other person who has a better reputation, gives better service? That's when it starts affecting, does it affect you or does it not? Because do you want that kind of client that's always going to pay less and always going to be haggling you? Or do you want the clients that are never going to just, depending on what you're doing, right? In your case, in commercial, they're always going to ask you for a bid. In my case, sometimes they don't even ask. They're like, yeah, man, just come and do it. So that's what some people in the industry that I talk to, it's like, well, hey, we're getting the clients that are paying this much per square foot because my work is going to last 50 to 100 years. So I'm charging, X amount of dollars. I'm not charging $5 to $10 a foot. I'm charging way more than that, especially to do a shower and stuff. They're not going to go in there and do it for cheap for $400 or $500. And that's what some people are paying, $400 or $500 for a shower. So then you as a consumer, you're buying a $200,000, $300,000 house. And then in 5 years, 10 years or less, that shower's falling apart already. So there's a big difference on who's doing it, how much they're charging to, and the level of experience. So if not, was that client ever meant to be?
Sucks too for manufacturers on our end, because when stuff like that happens, like these maintenance people will start blaming the product, like, this is a crap product, I need to get this out of here. And it's like, slow down, man. It's like, I don't like throwing installers under the bus, but sometimes it's not a product issue.
Yeah, there's a lot of times it's not a product issue rather than a maintenance or installation issue. But to add to what to build off of what you were asking there, Jorge, at the beginning of that is the installer who doesn't. The guy who's the cheapest on the block is probably that way because they just don't know the value that they offer, because there are some pretty good installers that are still accepting extremely low dollars per square foot, right?
Yeah.
And some of that is because they don't know any better. And they don't know any better because we have an industry of secrets, right? We have an industry of, these are my guys, I want to keep them under my wing. And we don't openly share business information. I mean, we share it, but like as an industry as a whole, nobody likes to create their own competition by giving them the information that they don't feel they're at that level of privilege, I guess.
Yeah.
However, by them taking the low number all the time, they are able to stay busy, right? And they are able to fulfill a need in the market. But when it comes to the slow time, that's when workmanship, not just cost, that's when workmanship stands out the most, right? When someone's in the slow time now, instead of having 5 people coming asking you for work, what type of installs do you have? Now you have 100 people, and out of those 100 people, they're all fighting for that work, and their pricing seems to dwindle. So now you have a big influx of installers who are very capable of doing work, some to the standards required, some not, but they're all pretty low on dollar amounts. Now that's an exaggeration. I'm not saying everybody's low. I'm just using all that as an example. And to some extent, you should compete a little bit, depending on what time of year and how flooded the market is with work, and who has the work. The numbers are just so far spread from one installer to the next that it's hard to maintain a consistent average in dollar amounts for labor for what we do.
Right, and something else he was talking about was about these clients, and when you go with and you listen to podcasts, and they say this on all these business podcasts too, right? You go with the client that's looking for the lowest price, and then you're constantly being nagged by them. And it's the ones that you give them a price, they're like, all right, when can you do it? Get in here. Are the ones that at the end of the job, they're like, so happy, so thankful, how do I get you paid?
Yep.
Yeah.
So Rollin does ask this question here. What do you do to make it worth your higher price? And then Jose kind of chimed in right here with kind of what I think Rollin is getting at too, right? And we all know this. He started to open his eyes on how to charge after his first training. Because you look at some of these things that maybe you were doing wrong, or you weren't doing quite to where they needed to be, as far as to standard, and then you're like, man, if I would just charge a little bit more, I could do all this, and it makes up for that time, and then I know everything is done 100% correct.
So, and well, let me, how, or what is Rollin's question here? What do you do to make you worth a higher price? You get out there, you network, you stop being fearful of competition, and you start talking to the fellow installers in your area, in your region, in your country. You put your heads together and you learn, right? You put yourself in a position to learn skill set, business skills, and then you'll start understanding on where you're falling short.
And that's the other thing too, is being honest with the guys, right? And it's not and you see it over and over and over again on the pages where someone asks a simple question, hey, what do you guys charge for this, or how should I be pricing this out? And everyone just loves to go in there and just be like, well, if you don't know how to price it, you shouldn't be doing it.
But everybody starts somewhere, right? You don't pick up.
We were there at one point. That's why I don't do this, because it's like, man, I just started. I worked for someone hourly the last time I did anything like this was years ago. I don't even know where the market is right now.
Yep. And when we started, it's like, okay, I think that I'm worth this much money an hour. If I divide this square foot and do by the hour, this is how many hours I think I can get the job done. And yeah, I think that's a good price. And that's how most everybody starts, right? Like, but what happens if you have to, that 20-hour project turns into a 40-hour project, and you were basing it off of a dollar amount divided by the square footage, and a couple things went bad, and now you're in a position to where you just doubled your labor and diluted your hourly rate, right? Like,
and it could be, it doesn't even have to do with the job, right? We've done it before when we've been doing something, and then the van breaks down on the way there, and it's like, well, now I got an entire skid of VCT in the back of this van that has to get towed. Now we got to figure out how we're going to get this from this vehicle to another vehicle and then still get down there, and it's fun.
Yeah. That really happened too, guys, by the way.
It always happens at least 3 times in your lifetime of flooring.
At least. Danny says, how
3 times.
on YouTube says, how's the labor situation in our area? We have a big shortage of qualified installers, so our prices are way up. And I don't know that it's necessarily the installers that's the issue over here, because we do mostly commercial. I think it's the estimators that are doing it, because then what they'll end up doing over here is they'll price out the job and then find someone to do it for lower than they priced it out at.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and I think in our area, we have some pretty good installers over here. So it's not necessarily an installer thing. Sometimes it's just an estimating thing where it's like, oh man, I had put it for this much money, and now how am I going to find someone to cover this?
Right, or let's look at it another way, and I've seen this happen too. Is where an estimator, they team up and they are low bid, right? They're low. They're winning everything. Now they don't have enough people to install. So the solution that I've seen is they start backpicking smaller subcontractor crews and saying, hey man, look, I got this work right here. If you go get your DBA and some insurance, I can just give you this jobs right here, and you can work for yourself. You can own your own business instead of working for so and so. And that's what gets really efficient crews to split up too. And gets them in trouble. And guess what? As soon as that heavy workload that they underbid disappears, so does the work that they were promised. And
right.
that's a really legit scenario on how the market gets flooded.
So on Twitch, this guy here says he's a barber and he loves this show because he can see all the stages of beard growth in one place. And he
Right.
did say that that recommendation referrals are king, and that he doesn't get customers because he's cheap. He knows his trade, right? And 100%, like as a barber, you it's the same thing. It's you got to be priced so you know you're making money, because if you're not, all it takes is someone coming in there with something like this, and then you're like, man, this is going to take some work. And Jose says that at the first CFI convention he went to, someone told him, you do less work and make more money, but doing the work right. And that changed his mind about, it's not always about more. Sometimes it's about how can I slow down and make myself more efficient.
Mm-hmm. Been there. We have trying to take on too much at one time, put us in a bad spot. I'll tell you what.
I guess I don't know if that's actually up north, but it's in Canada, so you automatically think it's north. But he says his phone won't stop ringing. He's strictly commercial, and that's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Rollin says What decides what is high and what is low?
That's a
I
great
guess-
question there, Rollin.
I guess you
I'll
individually, right? Maybe.
It's based on your personal expenses and stuff like that, right? Everybody's business is run differently, which is why we have to charge a different price than our competitors in the market. But at the end of the day, everything should still be pretty close based on that project, I think.
right. Well, as long as if it's apples to apples, yes, right. But the apples to apples means that the installers have very similar education backgrounds. Their styles are very similar, right, as far as skill set. But then, where are they coming from? Who's working out of the garage? Who's working out of their own brick and mortar? Right now, you have that to factor in.
Well, and not only that, I'll
True,
say like
true.
last week I went to a procurement meeting over at one of the construction companies, right? And that's what he was talking about was buying power and how these larger companies have that buying power to where they can call someone and be like, hey, I need this at this price or else we're not going to get it. And, or, you know, that's just one aspect of it. But,
Or I heard that so and so's bidding the job. If you don't give them a way higher price, I'm gonna stop selling your product.
that probably happens too.
You know who you are.
So Kendall says, how about just do a higher bid and then go to a lower rate after negotiating? That's normally what he does. And I don't know if I'm reading this correctly, but that sounds to me like you get an okay to do the job at a higher rate and then you offer them a lower rate, which, unless I'm wrong, unless I'm reading this wrong.
I don't know. So let's look at this. The project that I gave numbers on a project, and there were some unknown variables in there, right? So I gave, my base numbers, and then I did alternate number 1, alternate number 2. And then I got a phone call saying, hey, do you have time to go take a look at the project? Because, alternate number 1 is not going to work because the substrate is not wood. But we want to find out why you put alternate number 2 in there and see what we can do to try to help mitigate costs. It's like, you know what? Yeah, no problem. I haven't looked at the project. What I submitted was a budget, and that's why the alternate was in there. So yeah, 100%. I would love to come visit the project, take a look at it, and we can, chit chat then. So I did. I went out there, took a look at it, said, yeah, I don't think the full thing for alternate number 2 is even going to be needed, but I can tell you that this is going to be needed, this is going to be needed, this was included in the base, this was not. So yeah, we can make some adjustments and save you some money.
So maybe that's what he meant then.
Okay, sweet. You guys got the job then, right? Like, we didn't even come to a final number, but he just wanted
It's
that
like you said earlier.
face-to-face.
It's throwing it out there, right? Like, hey, like, we technically don't know what's going to be needed, but I need you to be prepared that it could be up to this amount, right? Like, I don't want to charge this amount, but if we need to, it's there.
Right, and I use that old line, that I learned years ago. Is I'm not trying to take your money, I'm trying to make your money. You know what I mean? Because he was a builder, and it's a dance. It's a team effort, and I want to approach it like that all the time.
So we're going to do Rollins' comment here, and then we are at time for
Oh
today,
yeah,
guys.
shoot. I gotta
Like
make it over to some open
Rollins
house.
says that he feels like it comes down to knowing your cost of doing business, and that is 100% correct. And that's just having Rollin on here. The cost of our doing business is going to be different than the cost of his. Our cost is going to be different than Jorge's. Jorge's is going to be different than everybody's. So it's making sure that you know your costs and stop undercutting yourself when you're throwing these numbers out there. And we talk about it all the time. It's like you say that you own a business, but you're just owning a job. And Kyle said it best when he was doing his podcast too, right? It's profit's not a dirty word. Like everyone has to make a profit all the way down the line.
There's a book out there it's called Profit First. And right, do they have a couple variations of it, like a contract version?
Yep.
Yeah, I advise people to read it, listen to it, and whatever floats your boat on that one. And it does. If you're willing to learn and open up your eyes and listen to this book, it will give you some great information.
Well, that's the time for today, guys. We want to, again, thank the NAFCT, Divergent Adhesives, Trade Tap. Make sure you guys are going to get your VTI. Sorry. And Pro Installer Magazine. Make sure you're reading up, man. Just, like, if anything, just reading that will put you miles ahead of a lot of other people.
And Jorge, thanks for joining us today, brother.
Yeah,
so we can get a tutorial of what you got going on, bro. And I'm sitting here watching you do all that.
Man, you know what? It's a lot of fun. It's it entails a lot of little detail, very tedious work, but overall, we should be done hopefully by tomorrow. And it's just this one step I need to sew, and bada bing.
Nice. Well, we appreciate you hopping on today, bro.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Even though I was kind of just in the background.
Yeah, you were still there. At least you hopped. I know last week you were like, I'm in a really loud spot right now. So, but sometimes that because Jorge will, text or call me at 2:00 and he's already like, I'm already at the bar, bro.
I'm drinking a brew most days except for today. Maybe later. I don't know. But yeah, everybody jump on Trade Tap. Go get your education and your trainings. And I hope to see y'all guys later on in the year. If you go to any conventions or next year during TICE coverings. And I hope to see you there. Thanks for watching us.
All right. Yeah, we'll see you guys later.
Peace.